don't care what Robin Westman did. I don't care that Robin Westman killed those kids. I don't. And here is why. Robin Westman, as a trans woman, she was exposed to constant hate, constant harassment, constant bigotry. I don't know her personally, but I do know that as a trans person in the United States, if you don't feel like you're under attack, I'm shocked. I've been hearing a lot of people, multiple, some of whom I've argued with on Revolt, and I'm here to say look, the argument that I've mainly come. Alright, so first off, I'm going to get into the background. Robin Westman is a trans woman. On, I think it's August 28th, Robin Westman went armed, posted a manifesto on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, into a Catholic school, shot at people, and killed 2 kids. Now, as you can imagine, being a trans woman, the entire alt-right erupted in mockery and jeering and pointing and saying, trans bad, because that's what the alt-right's gonna do, right? And I've heard a lot of people on the left say something along the lines of, Robin Westman put the trans community in danger. And I'm gonna tell you that is not true. And I'm also gonna say, that rhetoric is very harmful to be spreading right now. So, to say that Robin Westman put the trans community in danger, it is completely, it does a complete disservice to all the wrongs that the trans community has already been fighting with. The trans community has been in danger for years. Actually, probably more. Things were looking better in 2015 with the federal establishment of gay marriage, but now even that's on the table. And it's not because of Robin. It's not because of her. It's because the alt-right hates trans people. They hated trans people before the Uvalde shooting. They hated trans people before Robin shot that Catholic group. And by the way, they were going to hate trans people regardless. Now, because of this shooting, where one trans woman shot 2 kids, do you really think that the administration is going to change its tone? Because the only way the administration could change its tone to trans people is to care less. And that's obviously not going to happen. When Trump got in office, the first thing he did is sign a bunch of executive orders, one of which included insisting that gender was determined by sex at birth, or sex at conception, actually, which made us all biologically female, according to Trump. Not appreciated, but also establishing that there was only 2 genders, and male and female, you know, typical alt-right Adam and Eve shit. And Trump did that because he was told to by the Heritage Foundation that has been attacking LGBTQ people forever, for its entire existence. It has been anti-LGBTQ. They were against the 2015 decision that protected gay marriage. They were for the Christian bakery discriminating against those gay men. They are now supporting, and they have supported for a decade, a woman who was a former clerk who was fined and imprisoned for refusing to issue marriage licenses because her job was to issue marriage licenses, and she decided that she was not going to do so for any gay couples. Kim Davis, she was a clerk in Kentucky, and she was sued and forced to pay compensation to a gay couple because she refused to give them a license. And now she's petitioning to the Supreme Court to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, which is the case that, when the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 on it, gave gay people the right to get married in every state, and ensured that that could not be withheld by homophobic clerks like Kim Davis. Right? And since that happened, the Heritage Foundation has been attacking gay people. They similarly are attacking trans people. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the Heritage Foundation hates queer people. Remember that whole Project 2025 thing that everyone was talking about before the election? Yeah, a lot of mention to trans people, none of which is based on the Uvalde shooting, or Robin, who obviously had not yet done anything. And if you consider it from that point of view, think about how it feels to be a trans person in America. It's constant disrespect, constant harassment. Trans people are beaten on the streets. Trans people are harassed going through the TSA. Trans people are assaulted at random in stores for being trans. Trans people are the victim of rape. A trans man was abducted and tortured in New York. Trans kids are disowned all the time. But then Robin kills 2 kids, 2 Catholic kids, and the whole world up in arms against her. Now, I'm going to be clear. I don't think that Robin killing those kids did anything good. I also don't think that Robin killing those kids did anything bad. I don't think those 2 kids' lives matter. Yes, I am telling you outright. I do not believe, Kelvar Iwana does not believe those 2 kids dying is important. I don't give a fuck. You have the secret police going through abducting anyone. What if those 2 kids were arrested by police officers at school? What if that? And put on the school-to-prison pipeline? Do you think the right wing will be up in arms against all police? No. And likewise, the people who are against trans people right now, do you think it's because of Robin? Really? They were mocking trans people in January of 2025. In November of 2024, they were saying, kill yourself, because Robin would shoot 2 children in August 28th, 2025? Really? On one hand, you're all talking about throwing pipe bombs and shooting transphobes, which, by the way, all for. But 2 Catholic kids die, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, you can't kill the Catholic kids. Oh, really? Well, the alt-right's saying you can't kill the Catholic kids because those are God's chosen people. And, they're Catholic and Christian and have to be protected by everyone else. From everyone else. And now I'm seeing leftists get on board because they're just kids, quote-unquote. And yeah, they are just kids. I don't think those 2 kids, I wouldn't call them transphobic even if they were reiterating transphobic arguments beforehand. I wouldn't assign any beliefs to those children. But also, revolutions are inherently dirty. Revolutions are messy. Revolutions are scary. You will have innocent people killed. Part of a revolution is that you're going to have people... Look, in Ireland... They blew up bombs, they blew up buses, they had bombs in places. Innocent civilians died. But right now in the United States, ICE is going through the cities, marching through, grabbing people, attacking people. Or the National Guard, also, marching through cities. Assaulting peaceful protesters. I've seen the footage. I saw TikToks and YouTube videos and clips of homeless people in Washington, D.C. being bagged like hangmen. Like, if you've seen the video, if you've seen the song "This Is America," at the start in the music video, there's a guy with a bag over his head. Yeah, it looked like that. That's what I thought of when I saw a homeless man bagged like a hangman, being taken away by police, by National Guard, and then this all happens, and this is the background from which I come from, and say, it doesn't matter. The Robin story is a nothing burger. And if we act like Robin killing 2 children is suddenly the end of the whole world and brings all hell upon the trans community, you're ignoring the fact that the trans community has already been facing hell for its entire existence. This is the world we live in before Robin, right? Look at that. Look at that man. He's an amputee, but more important, 3 officers, and that guy is bagged, and he was not even doing anything illegal. He's just a homeless person. This is in D.C. during the crackdown on homeless people. The war on homeless people. And they've got him bagged. Tell me, is that not what you think of?
This is America.
Because that's the first thing that came to my mind. That's what flashed in my mind when I saw this video. But people are saying now that, oh, because Robin shot those 2 children, that now life is going to be hell for the trans community. Now that's put the entire trans community at risk. At risk of what? At risk of having an executive order that directly attacks them? That causes their passports to be rejected at the border? At risk of being rounded up en masse in an executive order that criminalizes mental illness? Oh, wait a second, that's already existed before the executive order, too. We called that the involuntary commitment. It does a complete disservice to the transgender, to the life of transgender people across this nation, but also of all queer people across this nation, of all people across this nation. To say that Robin is going to bring something worse, because it implies that we're not already in a government that's directly attacking trans people. Yes, Robin is going to become a talking point on some podcasts. Robin is going to be a talking point probably on Fox News. I'm sure they covered the story. I didn't check, but I'm sure they did. And I'm sure that Fox News or whatever else is going to say, this is why trans people are bad. But it's not like they weren't attacking trans people before. They did the same thing with the Uvalde shooting, and then they never talked about it again because they found better points to go off of. Or rather, they just found other stories to talk about. They just constantly keep a running stream of propaganda and information, and misinformation, and attacks, and fear-mongering. Like, yeah, they said trans people are going to shoot you because of the Uvalde shooter, but they also said that Kamala Harris was a communist. It doesn't fucking matter. The Fox News people, the alt-right podcast hosts, One American News, whatever, they're just gonna say whatever slop they want to put out. And it doesn't even matter if it's true. This is the same issue I had with the 50-51 protests when they were talking about how they're gonna be so peaceful that no one could ever think they're violent. Yeah, the police always start the violence at these protests. You're not outsmarting anyone. You're just playing into their hands if you're gonna sit by while they pepper spray you. Like that one video that I've already used in an earlier 114-514, for the one clip of the police officers pepper spraying the peaceful protesters that were sitting protesters at the university. Is this just martyrdom? Like, do people on the left want to get beaten? Or not the left, do the liberals? Do the ever peaceful, peace-promoting liberals that cite this 3% statistic, do they want to get beaten? Because, by the way, we've passed 3.5%. I mean, 40-something% still voted for Kamala Harris. In every election, 40% votes for the losing candidate. It doesn't change anything. And if that's not peaceful protest, then what is? I mean, listen, by all means, keep doing your protest, but I'm not going to act like that's the end-all be-all to solve this problem. Yes, you have to get a little violent. We have to get a little violent. And as I know I'm coming from the other extreme of a lot of these very privileged liberals who think that when their peaceful protests are fixing things, you know, the type that brings a sign saying that, oh, we would be at brunch if we had a Democrat in power, we could just pretend like this isn't a problem. As if that's a call for sympathy somehow. As a trans, intersex, queer American that's poor and mentally disabled, and poor, and has been homeless, and is poor, I'm obviously very vulnerable to the current ongoing actions of the system. And so I ask, how can people genuinely argue that Robin and that shooting means anything? To be clear, she attacked and killed 2 kids. And she wrote in her note that she knew it was wrong and that she was taking one moment of indulgence because, yeah, the world has been beating down trans people for years. But then, and it reminds me of those comics about Israel and Palestine where Israel's bombing Palestine. Palestine throws 1 missile back, and then Israel's like, oh, now you're gonna get it, and has 15 missiles targeting like every inch of that city. To say that Robin Westman is going to bring hell upon the trans community is effectively, it's saying that trans people deserve to have to deal with mistreatment, and they should just be grateful they don't deal with more mistreatment. Like, what happened to all the Stonewall energy? What happened to the whole pipe bomb, the shoot transphobic state legislators? What happened to that kind of stuff? Someone goes in, true, she didn't shoot J.D. Vance. I wish she shot J.D. Vance. I really wish she did. And she didn't, and obviously not the perfect, not a useful killing. But to say that it's somehow a horrible, terrible act and that she should forever be scorned, and, I mean, I've seen some people trying to dead name her. They do what they did with Caitlyn Jenner, which I also didn't support. Because she shot 2 Catholic kids that were probably going to end up pushed down a school-to-prison pipeline or end up homeless on the street and then dragged away. Like, can we say that these cops have ruined cops and ruined the reputation of cops forever, and they should be forever shamed because they did this to a homeless man? They bagged him and tagged him, and we're gonna take him off to who knows where with a bag over his head. It's like, you can't claim that this has doomed the trans community when the trans community was clearly already doomed from the moment Trump got elected in 2024. And I'm not going to say doomed to complete annihilation, but doomed to a hell of a struggle. As was everyone. As I've been trying to make very clear in my whole series of videos, which I have on my YouTube, probably close to 30 hours at this point, of me doing gate jumps and talking. Okay, I could actually see the time above. It says 24:26. 24 hours and 26 minutes. No one is safe under fascism. If Robin didn't get those kids, the system would. And those kids were in for a hell of an upbringing. I'm sure they'd be very depressed at the age of 13. And I'm sure if any of them were queer, I'm sure they'd be afraid of being kicked out of their home or kicked out of a group they're in or mocked incessantly or, knocked out at random when they're in a store. Because I've seen that happen to people. I've seen that happen. You can't claim that the world is this innocent, pure place where any violence is just disrupting this perfect little picture. Not in this world. And I refute the idea that we should treat accidentally killing 2 kids as a huge tragedy. Have you seen revolution movements across the nation? Across the world? Because, yeah, sometimes the Molotov cocktail bounces off the government van and hits the side of a family's house. And sometimes that starts a fire that kills a dog or a cat or kills a kid or costs $150,000 in damages, at least under current U.S. real estate prices, which are absurd. Sometimes when you blow up a bus, it hits, the explosion includes a kid. Should we have to pre-plan every single action, carefully do risk assessments and get on outside contractors to give opinion pieces on whether we might accidentally kill 1 or 2 innocent kids. If you're launching fireworks at the police and one of them sails over the police and hits the black church, does that mean that your movement is entirely, like, condemned, should be condemned to death, and you never had anything to fight for in the first place, and everything you did is wrong because you killed and you hurt an innocent black church? Yeah, I'm sorry that the black church burned down. Let's talk about the police that were killing black people in the streets that we were fighting against. It's just, it feels ingenuine to me to argue that this incident that happened in one church in which 2 kids were killed and 20 kids were involved is somehow meaningful in the context of the greater world. By the way, how many school shootings are there every month in the United States? School shootings and public mall shootings and church shootings and attempted bombings. Like, this doesn't have to be 9/11 for the straight male population or the straight white people population. And when you have these often straight white men who do actions like the the Columbine shooting, the Sandy Hook shooting, even the toxic masculine influencers that will call you gay for not going to the gym enough or going to the gym too much or whatever. Even they aren't saying, oh, now that a white man shot up the school, white men are permanently ruined in the eyes of society. Or if they say it as like, society's bad for judging all men. They say, not all men, instead of saying, that man was bad, he made us all look bad. But when I was looking on Lemmy, when I was first hearing about the story yesterday and the day before, I was seeing Robin put the entire trans community in danger with this. Which, again, implies that the trans community was not already in danger beforehand. Did we forget about the years of attacks on the trans community? Did we forget about the trans care bans, the attacks on trans providers? By the way, I was clogging up the FBI's tip line for reporting trans healthcare providers like months ago. Do you not remember when the FBI put out an order saying that providers of trans affirmative care are legally considered child molesters and child sex abusers? And to report them? Do you not remember that? Do you not remember when hearing all these internal orders from the White House saying that anyone who's providing gender affirmative care to trans kids anywhere in the nation should be referred for investigation? Did we forget all of that? The trans community and its allies are doing a disservice to themselves by talking about Robin as if her shooting was somehow is going to have any impact on how the alt-right views trans people. It won't. It will be a talking point before it gets replaced with another talking point. They're just going to slot in another talking point. Look, I'm bringing up Uvalde because there are 2 instances of which trans people have actually done mass shootings compared to the thousands of instances. Maybe I shouldn't have even brought up Uvalde, because I think everyone forgot. I think everyone did. As everyone will forget Robin. But for now, Robin's getting her name dragged through the mud and is being denounced and disowned by the trans community because after years of taking abuse, she did one thing which she admitted herself was an act of indulgence. She wrote a whole note apologetic to her friends and family, which I found very heartfelt and also very relatable. Maybe read her note. Maybe read her manifesto. Because when you look at it in the context of what you know, what we all know, a trans woman would be going through in this nation. Can you really genuinely blame Robin? can you actually say that she should have done more? She should have done better? I'll say I wish instead of writing "kill Trump" that she went out and tried to kill JD Vance. Actually, I don't worry about Trump. But maybe she does go kill Trump. Fine. I mean, it certainly would have been a positive. Who are we to judge the actions of other people in this nation, especially someone who's constantly persecuted? Look, I'll admit, I probably have I have compassion fatigue. I feel compassion fatigue. I'm burnt out, as are the rest of us. I just wish that we'd admit that, instead of trying to make it about Robin. She was desperate. She lives in a country that provides her nothing, that constantly beats her down. A country in which people who are homeless, who are nonviolent, who are just homeless, are dragged off the streets, like looking like the man at the start of the "This Is America" Childish Gambino video. And we're supposed to pretend like all of a sudden, when a trans woman acts in violence, then all of a sudden the world is a peaceful place until that happened. But the rest of every other day, it's filled with ICE officers abducting people, children getting put in the back of vans and driven, wards full of children who are drugged out of their mind, immigrant children who are drugged out of their mind, separated from their families, strapped to rows of beds, and almost certainly sexually abused while they're sedated. Why are they sedated and bound? Why would you sedate and bound someone? Why would you need them physically restrained and mentally drugged out? Tell me why you need that. If they're physically restrained, they're physically restrained. And why are they physically restrained when their only crime is being an immigrant? Kids in cages, which increased under Biden, which started under Trump. That's going on. We see that every day. The White House putting out, on its official Twitter, putting out neo-Nazi rhetoric for the world to see. Posting pictures of the American progress painting that shows an angel scaring away indigenous people with a 1488 dog whistle in the tweet. We have the White House in internal briefings. The White House kicking out trans soldiers, denying them leave benefits, severance benefits, talking about directly encouraging and challenging laws that would protect people from imprisonment simply for being mentally disabled, while congressmen try to push through Trump derangement syndrome, aka disagreeing with a dictator as a supposed mental illness. And the only real positive spin anyone can put on any of it is, oh, well, maybe Trump himself will die eventually in the White House, surrounded by his chaotic regime. Yeah, the guy's obviously in cognitive decline, but then who's going to be poised to take up the reins? Well, the Constitution says J.D. Vance would. J.D. Vance says he'd be more than ready to take up the presidency. And some people say, oh, well, J.D. Vance couldn't lead a crowd like Donald Trump. Yeah, that's why Silicon Valley backed Donald Trump. If J.D. Vance had the ability to lead a crowd, Silicon Valley would have backed J.D. Vance as president. Instead, Silicon Valley backed J.D. Vance as vice president, because Silicon Valley and everyone else knows J.D. Vance is not a very attractive person. He's not a very charismatic person. He's actually extremely unsettling. So they use Trump, who's good at rallying up crowds, with his big Lee energy. They use Trump to get in, and then they petitioned for Trump after he won the Republican primary. They petitioned for Trump to take J.D. Vance as his vice president, and Trump did. So now they had to deal with Donald Trump being a bumbling idiot for a little bit, and he is going to be, with this whole tariff war. But Silicon Valley is looking long-term, and long-term is Trump is going to die eventually, and then J.D. Vance will, according to the Constitution, take up the reins, and then J.D. Vance will be president, backed by the Heritage Foundation and backed by Silicon Valley, backed by big figures like Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, you know, and the Heritage Foundation, and Dennis Prager, which they want to put his curriculum in schools across all 50 states. And it's already being put in place in 10 states with the enthusiasm of their governors. Yeah. Remember that? Remember all of the stuff that was happening already before Robin Westman shot those 2 kids? Now, is this the hill I'm going to die on? No. I'm going to probably stop talking about Robin Westman after this video. But I'm also fed up of people talking about Robin Westman like this is some groundbreaking new terrible tragedy that no one will ever recover from again. It's 20 kids that saw 2 kids shot. That's it. That's the full situation. It's 17 kids alive that saw 2 kids killed. I know, it's a terrible thought that your children or the children that you know might die. I agree. Like, I agree. It is a terrible thought. Every day I go to sleep, and I have terrible nightmares of the world I live in. I wake up, and I feel disappointed that this is the world that I live in. Because I wanted to do a lot of different things in my life, besides for watching the entire United States deteriorate around me. I wanted to be a whole different person. But this is the world we live in, and it does no one any good to pretend that it isn't. So let's get grounded in reality. And let's not discourage people from using guns. The leftist discussion and conversations around gun violence and ownership of guns is doing us a big disservice. Left-wing people, anti-Trump people as a whole, are already at a huge disadvantage because Trump has a military-industrial complex on his side. And Donald Trump, with his military prowess, with his National Guard deploying to random cities whenever he sees fit, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Chicago might be next, New York City when Zohran Mamdani continues running for mayor. I'm sure that the National Guard will be spending a lot of time in New York City. And that's assuming Trump doesn't just, like, rig their election and have National Guard deployed. Probably on polling day, there's going to be National Guard out. The best thing we could do as leftists is make Robin an icon. I know that's not going to happen, given what we've seen, how we've seen the discourse around her go. But the best thing we could do is cultivate some of the energy that surrounds those serial killers that people lust over on TikTok. And, you know, if we can inspire a few 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-olds, 20-something-year-old shut-ins to take up arms and start shooting people. Look, if half of the people shot are Catholic kids and half the people shot are Republican individuals, it's a win. Not every shooter has to be a Brian Thompson killer, of whom we don't know the name because they just grabbed some person off the street, and we all know that. It's not Luigi Mangione. I don't believe it's Luigi Mangione. If we made Robin an idol, and we had some of these serial killer worshippers that are severely mentally ill and go off to do imitation copycat killings, and some of them went after priests and went after conservative Catholic influencers and televangelists and Silicon Valley people like Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel and Jeff Bezos. I mean, if we were idolizing Robin Westman, if we were idolizing her, then we could direct that anger and get people all riled up and in a tizzy with guns and going out impulsively, not thinking of consequences, shooting down, right-wing podcast hosts that criticize Robin. We could start a whole cult of personality here. But instead, we're denouncing her, saying that she's not like all trans people. Yeah, obviously we know that. And the people who are going to make the bad faith argument that Robin's indicative of all trans people, those people are going to do so anyways. Those people are looking for an excuse to blame trans people, and they were attacking trans people before Robin, and they'll attack trans people afterwards. They'll laugh at trans women getting beaten up in public. They'll laugh at trans people getting arrested left and right. They'll talk about trans groomers, and they'll watch a 68-part series on Chris, what's the name? Christina? I don't know. The Sonichu girl. The girl that was mocked constantly online. And basically groomed into being a mentally ill person because she made the great crime of being an autistic person on the internet that was made fun of. To end up in the sights of a few bad actors that manipulated her. Look at this. Look at these documents and tell me that she doesn't just sound like a person. To my family and friends, I don't expect forgiveness, and I don't expect any apology I have to hold much weight. But to my family and those close to me, I do apologize for the effects my actions will have on your lives. Please know I care for all you so much, and it pains me to bring the storm of chaos into your lives. This will affect so many more people than the ones that are immediately involved. To my mother and father, I am sorry I didn't turn out as you had hoped. You did not fail me. You gave me so much. I truly appreciate the love you have given me. I feel I was raised to be a good person. I've kept those traits of empathy, self-sacrifice, and good character. Please do not think you have failed as parents. I was corrupted by this world and have learned to hate what life is. Life is love, life is pain. There is too much to accept, too many things to put up with just to live. I'm tired of the pain this world gives out. Please move on and continue to give your love to my brothers and sisters and the rest of the world. They may not forgive you, but you need to move on from me. Forget my life and the pain I've brought. I love you both. Thank you for everything. I'm sorry. To my siblings, I'm sorry for forever tainting the rest of your lives. Your careers, lives, relationships, all will be turned upside down. Please hold on to who you are, not who I am. Change your names if you must. I wish I could tell you that before I go. Please know that I love you and truly appreciate the time I have spent with you. I have such an amazing family, and it hurts me to throw this wrench into the works of you good people. I feel hope when with you. I cherish our time together. I appreciate all that you have taught me, and I felt inspired to be like you when I grew up. I hope you are able to move on and continue your lives without being forever followed, forever haunted by my actions. Forget me and all that I am. Hold on to yourselves and your loved ones. I love you all. And to my friends, I trust you all to give your memory of me however you see fit. I am sorry for the confusion and heartbreak this will bring. I truly appreciate all of you for showing me a good life and helping me through dark times. I have had so many good times that gave me hope. Unfortunately, this world has too much pain to deal out that I can't cover up with the good sides of life. I hope you can all move on and forget the pain that I've created. I have wanted this for so long. I am not well. I am not right. I am a sad person, haunted by these thoughts that do not go away. I know this is wrong, but I can't seem to stop myself. I am severely depressed and have been suicidal for years. Only recently have I lost all hope and decided to perform my final action against the world. I don't want to kneel down for injustices of this world. I want to die. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees, constantly in pain. I think I am dying of cancer. It's a tragic end, as it's entirely self-inflicted. I did this to myself as I cannot control myself and have been destroying my body, through vaping and other means. I think I have lung cancer. I have felt many pains that make me think I am past the point of recovery. I do not want to recover. I do not want to throw my life away by rotting in a hospital bed. I don't want the rest of my life to be as a cancer patient, in and out of hospitals, constantly being fretted about with people afraid to be too happy around me. Fuck that! I want to go out on my own means. Unfortunately, due to my depression, anger, and twisted mind, I want to fulfill a final act that has been in the back of my head for years. You are what kept me going. I find no more interest in anything material. I have only an interest in my mission and love for my family. If I didn't have such an amazing group of people around me, I would have been gone much sooner. I just want to escape from this world. Escape from the constant bills, shitty jobs, shitty people, and injustice of America. I am done with this. I will not bow. I will be selfish and leave you to pick up the pieces. It's my fault. Blame me. But please, move on. Whether you accept my apologies or not, I hope you can all move past this and continue your lives. Remember to be good people. Now more than ever, the world needs more love, even if you don't get it in return. Please find hope, find love, and stand up to injustice. I love you all. I will remember you. Pray for the victims and their families. I love you. Robin M. Westman. 2002 through 2005. 2002 through 2025. She's just a person. She's a person in a world that underserves people, that underserves its citizens, a country that does not care about you, and will look you in the eye and spit in your face and tell you it does not care about you. Look, it's a country that doesn't provide medical care, and you have a mentally ill person do an act of mental illness. I'm not going to villainize her. I'm not. The system isn't there for you. There's no free medical care in this country, and the medical care we have costs like hundreds of dollars per appointment. It's ridiculous. So you're gonna have people that don't get medical care. Actually, I'd say people shouldn't get medical care. The same reason I say people shouldn't be taking out loans to go into college. If it's so important to the country that everyone has an education, the country should provide it. If it's so important to the world and to the country and to stability of life that everyone gets mental health treatment, go ahead and provide it. Don't just shield BetterHelp and, and say, oh, mental health is an important conversation. Yeah, you'll talk about mental health. Will you do something about mental health, or is it just virtue signaling? This is a message from Elisa Ray Shupe, the first person to obtain a non-binary gender transition to the Trump administration. Fuck you, America. I don't want your hatred. I don't want the military decorations and medals you awarded me. I don't want your pension money for my distinguished military service and service-connected disabilities. I don't want your health care to treat the mental illnesses you caused. I don't want more psychiatric ward commitments to keep me alive in a nation that I despise. I don't want to be buried in any of your state or national cemeteries for veterans and military retirees. I don't want to be buried anywhere on American soil. I don't want any military honors or ceremonies to mark my death. I don't want my ashes to be stored on American soil. I want my ashes or remains to be spread or buried in international waters. I don't want your flag anywhere near my body, remains, or ashes. I don't want any members of my family, other than my spouse, to be on the vessel that disposes of my ashes or remains. My death is not a surrender. My death as a member of the third gender and transgender population does not mean you won. It solely marks the end of our association. You are not the land of the free. You are not a country getting made great again. Too much demonstrated hatred throughout your existence extinguishes any claim to previous greatness. You are a cesspool of zealots that worship a God that does not and has never existed. Enjoy your new royal family and third world dictator. I refuse to participate any further. Have that Nazi piece of shit Elon Musk and his Doge henchmen deduct the savings from my $93,000 of federal pensions from your bankrupt coffers. The white man decimated and massacred the indigenous populations of the third gender on the lands now called America. It was only fitting that a white person restored it. You cannot erase non-binary and transgender people because you give birth to more of us each day. And that's all I have for us today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.